Good morning. You do not need to adjust your screen. There are 3 Nudelbergs on this morning.
Oh, yeah. You'll see this every Wednesday. Jake Nudelberg will be a staple in the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. So we're all going to be here every Wednesday. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I love it.
Just to see you, Jake, by the way.
I got
Hi. Good to see you guys.
Hey, just to pick up on yesterday, which was the first official day back for most people. How was your day?
It was amazing. So like I equate it to, like I do everything, football, but like we had the first drive of the game. We went down, scored a touchdown. We're up 7-0, and we feel real good about the way the game started.
Yeah,
it felt so. It was cool because we, and I know you guys talked about it yesterday, but we did the kickoff for us on Monday, and for me, it really felt like a Sunday in the football office where nobody else was really working in the rest of the country or the world, or whatnot, and that's kind of how football is. Like the administration is gone, everybody's off on Sundays, they're going to church
for the day,
and you have the building, and everyone's kind of in like lazy clothes, but it's working. It's ready to come in and think, and that's kind of what it felt like. So it made kind of coming in Tuesday a little easier for me, and probably the same for you guys. But
I was super fired up, and while you really never know what's going to come, the routine that I built, and I had a virtual coffee with Jonathan Aarons. He's been a member of the Huddle for a long time and just never really, he reached out before the holidays. He was one of my first, and we just started talking. I said, my routine is so ironclad that it started Monday night. And so woke up back right in the routine and got into some client stuff. And, I had a great day, very highly energized, new opportunities, good stuff. So it is good to be back.
One of my highlights of the day, which Casey posted about this morning, was the journal. Yesterday was my first day implementing the 5-minute journal that we have, correct? And mine sits on the coffee table in the living room because that's where I sit. But so that was a new addition to my morning routine, which was fantastic. And then last night reviewed it, did my highlights of the day, and then boom, got up this morning and got back into it. So I'm glad to see Casey's enjoying it. I know Laura said the same thing. I mean, we sent that to everybody that we do. I'm excited to talk to Sistel this morning to see if they've been implementing it into their mornings.
The morning quotes is a really kick-ass way to start.
Right.
You got quotes coming to me from everywhere, but boom, and the way it's laid out, it is super simple, super great. It is directional. It's bang, I'm putting in the work. So would be remiss if we didn't talk about what everybody's talking about is tomorrow. And the whole world really embraced it. Colors
$6 million now.
$6 million. The Buffalo Sabres, this story, you can't make this shit up for sports. The Buffalo Sabres wore number 3 in a t-shirt into the building. They go and they play Washington Capitals, and they have a guy that scores 3 goals.
Yeah.
It was his 3rd hat trick of the season. It was his 30th goal of the season, and the winner came at 3 minutes in overtime.
That's crazy on January 3rd.
What?
A lot of threes.
January 3rd, like what?
Of 2023. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There is a thing, and if you Google it, the power of 3.
Sure.
You guys and me have lived it ever since that.
I don't like to make rules bigger than 3. Like, to me, if I can break something down into 3 parts and we can live in that world, it makes it easy to understand. And there is scientific or psychological data behind that. But I will say this. I'm going to say something controversial about this DeMar situation. There was talk this morning on the radio about like whether or not they should cancel this week's games in the NFL. I've been a part of teams that had people die on a Sunday, right? We played on Saturday. They died on Sunday, and we didn't miss a beat. There was no canceling of a game. There was no delay of a game. They did everything that they were supposed to do by suspending that game, moving it, and moving on from it. If you continue to wreck the business because of this one incident, you're setting a precedent that doesn't make any sense. It's time. It's time to move on, allow the teams to continue to play. The reality is that it's still a business, and business moves on regardless of tragedy. So everybody's still going to have to deal with those emotions. Everybody's going to have to figure out a way to move forward, but you should get to decide whether or not you want to participate, but the business should still move on, I think.
Dad, you want to take on that one first, or is he frozen?
He may be frozen.
I just heard him. I just heard Unreal behind me.
Frozen.
So he is indeed frozen.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Unreal. It is.
You're back.
This world, you'd think that they could get internet right.
I'm gonna just say this. I think it's you. It's because I have no issues.
Yeah, Jake's cruising right along.
So we'll have to figure that out. But
My director of IT has not figured it out yet.
So anyway, that's my take on it, is that the business goes on, life goes on.
There's accepting reality, and we're going to talk about that today. And that was kind of my point of, there is reality that the world will continue to move. You are not bigger than the sport. Let's not act like he's bigger than the sport, because that's just a farce from everybody who's saying that. In the moment, everything that happened needed to happen. They stopped the game. It's the most important thing. They're no longer providing him medical assistance, the players, the coaches.
Right.
The NFL is no longer doing anything or can do anything for DeMar other than support him and show him support. And you know what? Whoever said it, like, he would want them to play. He wouldn't want them to stop their season, their goal. Yes, he loves the support, but there are realities of what it is.
Right.
So Marcus, one of the guys on this morning, Spears talked about the 24-hour rule. And he goes, look, we're used to getting it up, and, you know, it doesn't matter. The following day we'll do it. He made an exception here. He said, because life goes on. You know, and that was the mantra, is that 24 hours later, life goes on. Life doesn't necessarily go on here. So seeing it play out on the field in front of a national audience and then having to deal with that,
so this is where
we're going to talk about it today, the uncertainty.
Correct.
Right now, as a player, I think it's hard to focus.
So as a leader, I think it's your responsibility to move the organization forward. And everybody has their individual right to say, I'm not ready to do that, or I don't want to do that, or, hey, I'm not going to do that. But as the leader of a group of people, whether it be the NFL, the team, or a segment of the team, if you are responsible for people, it's on you to push everybody forward and to say, hey, there are responsibilities here. There is a reality that we have to deal with, that you can either choose to move on with us or take the time you need individually. But as a unit, we have to move forward.
And I just think I'd like to see you get a little bit more, come out of your shell a little bit. Just be a little bit more passionate.
Hey, we're off to a great start this year.
Yeah, look, and I think, in any situation, you try to put yourself in the leader's position, right? Or you try to think about, what would you do? You know, we're really big on that. Like in group chats, we're like, what would you do here? You know, and I think as you go through the situation, like everybody was put in a situation that they didn't know what to do. Right. The NFL, the coaches, the players, there was so much uncertainty. So it's
cool. They did a great job of navigating it.
Right. And knowing that there isn't going to be a perfect answer. And when you look at the world, everybody is so easy to tweet at somebody or make a comment about their decisions when we're laying in bed and have no idea of what's happening, you know. But it's cool to watch them in the process. But we'll get more into it as we kind of go deeper.
I love it. I think the NFL got it right for this week, for that game to not continue. I'm cool with, but to talk about not playing this Sunday,
it'd be ridiculous. In my opinion, it would be ridiculous.
I tend to agree with you.
I can promise you they're not.
We gotta wake this thing up, boys. We're going.
Let's go.
say, wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more doctor thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
All right. So we got a lot of content today. I do want to touch on this. You touched on it in your post this morning about challenging. How are you challenging yourself? You know, when I first wrote the book, I would go around talking to people about 30-day challenges. 30-day challenges, if you do them 12 times a year, you get better at 12 things. Dry January is a 30-day challenge, and then I can build on that. And for some people, it's, you know, about food, or, you know, some it's about exercise. For some, it's about deleting, adding, lots of stuff about 30 days. But the master of it was a guy named Matt Cutts. Matt was one of the original employees at Google, and he did a TED Talk. I actually got to meet him, but the TED Talk he did was amazing. Show me a minute of his TED Talk.
So here's one last thing I'd like to mention. I learned that when I made small, sustainable changes, things I could keep doing, they were more likely to stick. There's nothing wrong with big, crazy challenges. In fact, they're a ton of fun, but they're less likely to stick. When I gave up sugar for 30 days, day 31 looked like this. So here's my question to you. What are you waiting for? I guarantee you the next 30 days are going to pass whether you like it or not. So why not think about something you have always wanted to try and give it a shot for the next 30 days? Thanks.
Amen.
Yes.
And I love that. So I love that our journal actually challenges you to get 5 days first.
Right.
And then it clicks after the 5 days into the full-on consistency. But that's the goal, right? Is to make it 30 days, is to get it in for a month and then decide, like he said, like he gave up sugar for 30 days. And then day 31 was like, all right, all of the sugar coming back in. Right.
So I just think, you know, that we talk about it's either 21 or 30 days to develop a habit. You know, anybody can do anything for 30 days. That's my takeaway. You can do it.
And what are your challenges? Like, I love, like, when we ended our workout this morning, the trainer asked everybody individually. He went around the room and he said, what's your challenge this month?
Yeah.
What is it? What is the thing that you're focused on? And everybody, there was a couple people who didn't have an answer. And a lot of people were talking about books. And it was interesting because then somebody responded with like, hey, that's great that you want to read a book this month. Just remember that it doesn't have to be the book that you started. And I was like, wow, what a great concept. Like, a lot of people start reading a book and they don't like it. And they're like, oh man, I got to get through this book because I said I would. Why? Right? Your goal was to read a book, not read a shitty book. So like, you know, find a book that speaks.
I don't read books cover to cover ever.
Right.
You know, I get in, I do what I do. And Jake, 30-day challenge.
I think it's important to focus on the activities that fulfill the goal. Like we talk about it in business, and I think sometimes it gets kind of forgotten when it comes to health or whatever your goal is. You're just like, I'm not going to eat sugar. Well, what's your goal for not eating sugar? Why are you doing it? Is there an attainable weight you're trying to get to? Is there a trying lifestyle? You feel better because of it. And keeping in mind what your end goal is, not the activity or the thing you're like, I don't want to eat sugar just to not eat sugar because they say it's unhealthy. What's the goal you're really trying to get to? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? And keep that image in your mind as you go through those activities. And I think it makes it easier to then go on a diet, to say no to sugar, because that image is constantly playing in your mind what fuels it.
Look at you, man. Let's get to some motivational music, which we'll talk about what we're supposed to be doing. Do that, and then we're coming back and we're talking about the Netflix show Stutz.
Stutz.
Don't wanna wait till tomorrow, so I'll put it on another day. You're my one little problem, really stand in the way. One step ahead, one step behind. Now you
So music is connected to memories, right?
Yep.
That song particularly was like part of the soundtrack to the 1993 Year in Sports Illustrated VHS that we had, that I watched on like repeat as a kid. And so when I hear that song, like I see the images of like Shaq playing for the Magic, Jordan and the Bulls like going at it, like all of the crazy things that happened in sports that year. The Hurricanes playing Alabama and George Teague taking the ball away from him. He took the ball away from him. So anyway.
So I don't think.
Sorry.
My mind is insane. This is the way my brain works.
I don't know that we have enough time for Stutz.
Yeah, probably not. We're gonna have to push this tomorrow.
Or Friday, whatever. Let's push that to tomorrow. Let's continue on this, behavior track. But I do want to point out somebody in the huddle here, Christina Cosgrove, asked a really good question that we get asked all the time. So
can I answer it?
I want all of us to answer it. So go.
Sure. So what we have is we have a big like Wheel of Fortune wheel that has a spinny dial on it.
What got into you today?
And we roll the dice, and whatever the number is on the dice, we spin the wheel that many times, and it selects what the category is. Kidding, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll throw in the answer. I think for me, it's pop culture driven. I want it to be culturally relevant or topically relevant to what's happening business and sports, music, and pop culture as a whole. And then we have the encyclopedia of one-sheeters up in the top right there. That is filled with information and knowledge that he does or is maniacal about collecting and housing and then repurposing for this show. So that would be my answer.
Awesome. So my answer is, because I started this years ago, was and Ginger talks about it. What is the desired outcome? I did this for all of my companies. I wanted to check everybody's pulse in the morning. I couldn't physically do that. So I did something that was content driven, even back then, that would light a fire. And I used to have people call in, then it was video conferencing, but whatever it was. And that's how the origin of the huddle came, is own the morning, get up, get plugged in. And Michael Jordan had this exercise, the man in the mirror kind of thing, where he looked in the mirror and said, wow, if I could self-assess where I am, 1 to 10, I could correct it. So I can't be a 10 all the time, but if I could figure out what to do. So the things that he talked about were music, food, exercise, reading and writing, all of the things that people use to change their emotion. That's what I wanted the show to be, plus educational. I wanted people to walk away with something. Now with the advent of social media, you could watch our show and have a week's worth of content to repurpose. Seriously, I mean, we are creating content every day. So that is my long-winded answer, but it's on the fly. We write it every day. It's not pre-written, and it is.
I think, and it's got to be us, right? Like it's topical, it's educational, but then it's authentic. Like what's happening with us? What do we want to talk about? Like we're not here thinking, hey, what does the audience want to hear? Like what do we think they want to hear for the day? It's what do we want to talk about? What do we want to have our hobby focused on? What do we feel like will be a good conversation for us? And then we hope that everybody who's listening and watching enjoys it and engages with it. So I think, topical and educational and authentic are, Laura caught my vibe for sure.
Which dude is she talking about, man?
Definitely me.
Well, and what we were going to get to it, but Stutz, one of his things about fulfilling your life force is the importance of writing. And I think this is our outlet through our content and through the huddle and through the other conversations we have with people. But like that is our outlet of fulfilling that part of our life force is creating the content
so to me,
and sharing
that question of how do you choose what topic to talk about or how do you choose what to talk about on the huddle goes into the behaviors thing that we were just talking about, right? Like what behaviors are you focused on that's going to help you get better? Like if you've started 2023 with these goals and you're only in love with the result of that and not the process of getting there, you're not going to make it. And even if you do get there, you're never going to sustain it. So like what he was talking about was small changes. To me, it's the same thing with reading a book. You get a chapter into the book. Why are you going to finish it? You're not going to enjoy it at the end. You're not going to get the same takeaways. You're not going to enjoy the process of reading it as opposed to moving. So if you've set a goal for, I don't know, being, ridiculously in shape, you wanted to be in the best shape of your life, and that required you to change your diet so significantly that you can't take it, change your goal, right? Moderate that goal and go, okay, well, wait a minute. What if I eat the way I want to eat on Friday and Saturday, but Sunday through Thursday, I'm disciplined to it? So like, as you work towards your goals this year, if it doesn't feel right to you, if behaviors don't feel right to you, check your own pulse and change direction.
I love that. Speaking about writing, speaking about, content, today is our 2023 OTB kickoff. And for those clients who have been paying clients, alumni, they've been invited. We have a huge roster of people that are coming. There is room in the room,
slots left
in the Zoom room. So we discussed it. If you have never engaged with On the Ball and you want to get a taste, it is a $99 fee. It's a 90-minute presentation that's all brand new, with the exception of 2 slides that are a review of last year's presentation, which that kickoff, once people saw it, we got hired to go to their companies and do it.
That is correct.
And we challenged ourselves to not come back with the same stuff because it was still relevant. Even if we presented what we did last year, it's so relevant, but it's all brand new stuff. And it focuses mainly on one thing, Mr. Nudelbergs. What does it focus on?
What happens between the ears? What happens in the brain? The mindset that you have that affects everything else that you do.
So if you're not in, reach out to any one of us or Shay. We'll get you facilitated and get you in. I promise you it will be the thing that you're buzzing about. It's meant to light you on fire. It lit us on fire writing it. So
1 o'clock to 2:30, I believe, is the time, Eastern Standard. So if you have that block of time open and you are interested in getting into the OTB kickoff for the year, let's go.
So Mr. TR joined the roster yesterday.
And just connected with Tim on LinkedIn a few days ago.
I'll tell you, it was such a fun call for me. Jake overheard it and said to me, he goes, "You must have had fun with that guy." And I go, "Well, what if we talked about fun? That it's fun to do business with him." So great to have him on board. Great that he has his priorities in the right place about taking care of his wife and his kids. So today should be amazing. If you're not registered, please do. And the only reason, I'll leave you with this, that we're charging $99 is you got to put some skin in the game. Skin in the game. You got to own it. See you all there. Let's get down to business.
Let's go.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to